I pastored 20 years in Louisiana, and it's hard to sit down with somebody who's navigating pain or going through something and you not carry a little bit of that.
This is the Church Growth Nation podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is Ross Turner, and you are listening and watching Church Growth Nation. We've got Dino Rizzo.
All the above.
All the above.
Yeah,
Dino Rizzo. We're in downtown San Luis Obispo right now, and you flew in yesterday?
Flew in today.
Flew in today.
Just got here, man.
Hopped off your private jet.
Several of those. Yeah, one of them is called Delta. Another one's called American, and every once in a while I take my one called Southwest.
Nice.
It's pretty powerful.
I really like it.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
I live in Birmingham now.
Yeah.
So I pastored in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for 20 years. Relocated to Birmingham, Alabama 7 years ago.
My brother-in-law played in the minors.
Okay.
And he played, what's the minor league team there?
Birmingham Barons.
Yeah, he played
Michael
for
Jordan played there.
I did not know that.
That was when he played baseball for a year or two. He played in Birmingham with your brother.
Well, he probably didn't play with him at the same time, but that's awesome. We got
But you played basketball with Michael Jordan, though.
I did, yes.
Or like him.
Like him, with him.
Yeah.
He's my dad.
Yeah.
We got Adam Magana. Adam's been with us before. He's the lead pastor of Active Church, which actually meets, I could throw a baseball. I could hit a goal.
If he could hit a 7-iron, he hit right at it, but
we're going to beep that out. Adam planted the church almost 3 years ago, or just past 3 years ago.
2 years ago.
This is the birthday coming up.
2 years. Yeah, we just turned 2 last month, so we're celebrating our 2 year next week.
Nice, and it's been going really good. And so these two people not only have churches that they influence, but they also have the experience of having people talk to you about advice on how to better their churches and tips and things to really further their walk with God personally and make it through. And so what I want to talk to you, I'll start with you, Dino, is I hear a lot from the pastors that we work with that they're like, pastoring is lonely.
Sure.
Pastoring is hard. Pastoring is hard on your family, and you feel isolated. It's financially hard. It's often harder than they expected. Why is that?
Well, I think culture's hard right now. So I think everybody's going through stuff. Doctors and librarians and maids and construction workers and teachers. I mean, it's tough right now anyway on everybody. I think what happens in ministry or in pastoring or whatever it is, you're so connected to it. It's physically can be long hours. Your soul is tied up into it. You're emotionally very connected to it. It's spiritual in nature. It's, it takes about everything there is. And, you're dealing with people's problems. You're counseling with people. You're walking through people's pain. You're navigating through the maze of personalities and trauma and experiences that people have walked through. And a lot of times, even though you try not to carry it, you carry that. I know I pastored 20 years in Louisiana, and it's hard to sit down with somebody who's navigating pain or going through something and you not carry a little bit of that, or you'd be totally compartmentalized. You're not going to be good if you are compartmentalized. Mm-hmm. So, it's just that stress and pressure that you carry, and then expectations. I mean, that's hard too. You want to do well for people. You want people to like you. You get up and speak every week, and everybody holds up, whether it's a 6 or a 4 or an 8, and so you're constantly getting rated or judged. Mm-hmm. So that can be hard on you, and then the pressure on your marriage and raising kids. Everybody's in a glass house, so it can be tough.
Yeah, you always tell me, like we were talking yesterday, and you talk about point to a problem or a tension in people's lives, and that's where you kind of get it out of them. Yeah. What do you hear when you talk to other pastors?
I think I think what Pastor Dino said is probably spot on, is the fact that there's a lot of expectation. We live in an Instagram world. So every single Sunday, you're going home, whether you had a great Sunday or a terrible Sunday, if you're opening up Instagram, you're looking at everyone else's feed, and so-and-so just had 500 people spontaneously baptized, and they're opening a 5th campus, and you're going, we're just trying to get one campus. And so I think we live in a highly comparison-centric world as it is, and I think Dino hit the nail on the head. I don't care if you're a physician, a teacher, you're a student, you're constantly looking at this metric of Instagram and Twitter and whatever, and you're looking at, how do I compare? And I think for some pastors, I think if you allow that, I think it's okay to be hungry. It's okay to look at like benchmark, like, hey, I want to get better. I want to grow my leadership lid. I want to reach more people, of course. I think it's okay to have a level of, hey, I want to do better. I want to grow, and I want to see what other people are doing. But I think it's like me on the way over here. I was looking, I saw our worship leaders in a car next to us, and I'm driving. And as I drove, I was looking at them, waving at them, and I'm swerving out of my lane because I'm trying to say hi to my worship leaders. And I think some leaders right now, they're just not in their lane. They're looking around and looking everywhere. Instead of making forward progress, they're swerving all over the road. So I think that's really hard on pastors these days.
Yeah.
Comparison.
I think it's an unfair thing. If I'm a guy who owns a t-shirt shop, I either do good or do bad. It's black and white. It's numbers. I brought my money home for my family or I didn't. Right? For a pastor, it's like up to the person's judgment. Like you've got a person who's having a bad day and they can be like, you suck.
Right.
You know, or you've got, you know, it's just, for some reason, I think when you are going through something, you feel like you have the right to kind of tell a pastor if they're doing a good job or not. And I feel like every decision that you make kind of has to be like shared because you're leading an organization, not leading a business. Yeah. Like I can make a wrong decision here and I'm like, well, shut up. That's what we're doing. You know, but when you're a pastor, it's like, well, oh, did you see him? It's like you're a spiritual leader, just more depth to everything. It's got to be draining.
Yeah, it almost feels like, you know, if you go to a church, you kind of, hey, it's my church. Everybody has a little stake in it. Everybody has a share. Yeah. And so, you know, everybody's a shareholder. Yeah. You know, and so everybody gets to say what they feel or gets to give their opinion. And I think there's healthy space for that. But if that gets on you, then you're starting to live then to the beat of another drum other than God's call and what the purpose on my life and what I contribute to the kingdom of God. And that can get you messed up. What's better, to be a guy who doesn't even fazed by it and you do what you do and it's like whatever, they don't like it, they can leave, whatever, or that guy, or the other extreme where you feel everything and you want to talk about it. It's in the middle. It's both and. You can't have it. You don't want to be either or. You're out of touch or you're a puppet. You got to be somewhere in the middle where you realize that I'm a little insulated from all the negative, but I'm still in touch with what people are walking through. And I think the best place for that is in your own security in Christ. I know that's cliches, I know that's simple answers, but literally when I'm secure in Christ and I know that I'm being the best version of me, then I can be okay with the ups and downs. I'm not going to take the credit when it goes good, which I shouldn't. All glory goes to God. Then I shouldn't take all the credit when it goes bad. So I got to live somewhere in that middle space. Yeah. I have found, you could probably experience this too with active church growing, but I have found that a lot of times we think the problems that we have kind of fade as success happens. Like our church gets bigger, we're a little bit more financially secure. Like our company gets bigger, we got more money, we got more employees. But I found that the part that grows with the good is the criticism and the angry people and the disappointment, the isolation. So if you don't have that under control at 100 people, it's going to kill you at 1,000 people.
Well, I think it's the illustration of the table, right? So if you have a table that's 6 feet by 3 feet wide, and you want to have a banquet, right? But your table's this big, then what happens is you start adding too much to that table, stuff starts falling off. I think the same way, whether you're trying to grow a marketing business, you're trying to grow the local church, you're trying to grow your organization, you have to raise up leaders. And I think what oftentimes happens is, I think we grow faster than our character allows us to, and we don't have that security in Christ, like Pastor Dino says, and we end up falling to those things of like comparison, and then thinking all my value is wrapped up in what people say about me or don't say about me. And I think that's just a common thing. But yeah,
we talk about comparison, right? And there's negative and there's positive. Like if this church in Tampa, Florida, did something that really, really worked, like so there's some good that we should implement. But also then I think you can take it too far when you start like not being yourself. Yeah. And you start, well, they did this series, so we're going to do this. They dress like this, so we're going to dress like this. And everybody's kind of becoming a clone of each other. So you got to find a way to take the good, but still be you. I mean, how do you be authentic still, but also kind of with all these art churches in a network, how do you get the good without losing your authenticity?
Yeah. Well, I'm a big SEC football fan, so we pastor in Louisiana. So my wife is a big LSU fan. My daughter goes to Bama. Oh. My son-in-law's a Bama fan. So we're all thrown into this world. And you think about, there are some basics of football that works. Whether you're on the West Coast, Whether you're up north or SEC, you're going to run, you're going to pass, you're going to snap the ball, you're going to block. Somebody's going to go out for a pass. So I think with every church, there are some basic elements that are kind of plug and play. But what happens is you got to figure out, based on your personnel, based on your opponent, how to customize your game. So, I'm going to either have to, based on I'm going to need to run more, I'm going to need to pass more, I'm going to need to spread, I'm going to have to come up with a trick play. My special teams are going to have to be really good. I'm weak on the line, so I think that's how.
You went deep there with the football.
I
you
did,
went really deep.
I'm all about it. My son played college ball, so I was a blocking tight end. They never throw me the ball, and so. But what I see is because we'll plant 80 churches this year. Yeah. And we've got 873 that we planted. So in all of, there's some basics. You got to love people. You got to serve the community. You got to sing. Somebody's got to preach. You got to pray. You need a building. You got to build a team. And there's basics about your business right here. It's incredible. Yeah. And but you got to contextualize. You got to figure out what your community, what your people, and how that is working for you. And so you can learn, but you got to be careful in the comparison, because it'd be like me saying to my when my kids were growing, I had they were part in age. So it would be, look at my 3-year-old, say, why aren't you as big as my 8-year-old? I need you to wear the clothes they wear. I need you to study that. Now I have to contextualize. She's 3, this one's 8. They're going to be at a different pace. They're going to grow differently. Why aren't you as tall as she is? Something's wrong with you because you're not as tall as your older sister. And I think we start comparing things that are not even the same. We don't have their personnel. We don't have their history. We don't have their coach. So I would tell planters, and I love the name of your Church Growth Nation. That's killer. I would tell everybody, hey, you got to customize. You got to contextualize. Yeah. Based on where you're at and what you're doing.
Yeah. What about you? Do you struggle with that? Like, I know that worked for that guy in New Hampshire. I want to do that, but I feel like it's not me, but I want to.
Is there anything working in New Hampshire?
I
don't
know. Of all
we got
50.
great churches in New Hampshire.
I was going to pull out a state, and I pull out New Hampshire.
Yeah, you reached.
Yeah, I think that's constantly when you first start, you're looking for proven methods, right? Yeah. Best practices. I think it's what the ARC offers. I think getting around guys that have done it right for so long, there's principles that work everywhere, right? When it comes to the specifics of series, graphics, all that stuff, I love what Rick Warren says. If my bullet fits your gun, then shoot it. I think there is a time where it takes time to figure out, like Pastor Dino said, what does your community need? And if I'm just pulling something from, Pastor Chris and what's working in, Birmingham, that may work on the surface, but as it flushes out, maybe our small groups need to be more specific to topics and not as free market, because people are still a little more biblically illiterate. So I think there's always going to be I think you should go online, get free stuff, download stuff from Grow, but then make sure that you're filtering through who are we and what's our message, and what are we really trying to accomplish here in our city, in our community.